Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Superheavy Samurai Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile for the June 2023 ban list. I was not expecting Superheavy Samurai to get so quickly hit on the latest release ban list. Scarecrow is banned, Psyframe Gamma, which is a heavy part of the hand trap lineup for the deck, is also at 1, taking away from sort of the play style of the deck, but still I wouldn't say the deck is unplayable. We just don't have our one card combo using Scarecrow to go into anymore. You have to extend a little bit more with our Super Heavy Samurai plays, but you can still do a lot of the fun pendulum summon combos, synchro plays, you name it, win the deck with all that we have to go for, increasing some of the numbers we had for some of the other cards. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the main deck monsters. Nothing really aside from Gamma in the main deck got hit, so we're still running the 3 Super Heavy Samurai Prodigy Wakashi. If you have no spell or traps in your graveyard, you can place 1 Super Heavy Samurai Pendulum monster from your deck except for Wakashi in the other zone, then special summon this card. You go and use this effect of Wakashi once per turn. So like I said, you're not really going off of the 1 card combo anymore, but you do just have an easy special summon from your Pendulum zone of a Super Heavy Samurai monster onto the field, and you do potentially have the discard of a monster to special summon a Super Heavy Samurai from your hand or deck in defense position. You are locked into Super Heavy Samurais when you use this play, but I went back to using the Sarutobi Ninja setup for this play. So if you just need a synchro lineup to go into and you don't really have much else to rely on for the special summon, you can at least use the Prodigy Wakashi to summon out cards like your Soul Piercer onto the field, use it for the synchro play, and then go into your Sarutobi, giving you another search off of the Soul Piercer, and then also setting up the Wakashi back into your Pendulum zone when it's used for a synchro material. We're running 2 copies of the Big Monk, Big Benkei as well. If you control a Super Heavy Samurai monster, you can add 1 Super Heavy Samurai Soul monster from your deck to your hand. You go and use this effect of Monk Big Benkei once per turn. So after you special summon out your Wakashi, after adding your Big Benkei to the other scale, you can use Big Benkei to search out one of your other Soul Super Heavy Samurai cards, and then that can even be used for the Pendulum summon or equip onto and special summon out onto the field using your other monster, the Super Heavy Samurai you already control on the field as well, using your Big Monk Benkei. That's really all you use Big Monk Benkei. If you wanted to run a normal copy of Benkei in the deck to summon out another copy of this card, I can show what card you can take out later on to replace a copy for that Benkei in the deck. For more of the 3-ofs for the main deck monsters, we're running 3 copies of Super Heavy Samurai Wagon. When it's normal or special summon, you just change its battle position, and then you can switch it to attack position to add a Super Heavy Samurai Soul monster from your deck to your hand, giving you more search just like your Monk Big Benkei. Giving you 1 monster to at least summon out into the field is more of a resource extender. You don't have the 1 card combo anymore, sadly, since Scarecrow is banned, but you can still rely on Wagon just as a resource builder in the deck also. And also 3 copies of Super Heavy Samurai Motorbike. It's a discard level 2 tuner, just being able to discard it to add 1 Super Heavy Samurai monster from your deck to your hand, except for Motorbike. You go and use this effect once per turn, and you can target a machine monster you control and increase its level by 2. It's a soft once per turn, so if you're able to increase the level of Motorbike by 2 and then use it for a play and you summon Motorbike back onto the field again, you could potentially increase the new summon Motorbike by 2 again. So having 2 monsters and then using the Motorbike to go into another play can give you your level 8 Super Heavy Samurai monster and then the level 4 tuner Motorbike to go into some of your bigger synchro monsters like your Brave Masuwaro, and then using cards like Ninja Sarutobi to help with that as well. And we also run the 3 copies of Super Heavy Samurai Soul Piercer, just a great searcher. It's not a once per turn. I'm glad that this at least didn't get hit on the ban list as well. Soul Piercer, just when it's sent from the field to the graveyard to add a Super Heavy Samurai monster from your deck to your hand. So you can literally add anything else you need for the combo. If you need to complete your Pendulum Scales, if your opponent Ghost Ogred 1 of your Pendulum Scales and you just need a resource to set that back up, so you can special summon out a bunch of other Super Heavy Samurai cards for a Pendulum summon. Soul Piercer definitely does come in handy with that. And I've increased the number of scales from my last build to 2, just so you have another extra target resource to summon out with the next card that we run in the deck as well. Scales, if your opponent controls 2 more monsters, it's just a special summon, but when it's normal or special summon, you can special summon 1 Super Heavy Samurai monster from your graveyard, except for your Super Heavy Samurai Scales, back onto the field. So then if you go for, let's say, a tuner, like your Super Heavy Samurai Motorbike, you can then go for the synchro play using those 2 cards, cards, or you can increase the level of Motorbike to 2 or scales by 2, and then go for the level 8 synchro of cards like Sarutobi. Also 2 copies of Soul Piercemaker. This is another searcher, but it's just a way to extend out of a play if your opponent, let's say, negates the monster effect of one of your cards before. You would initially have used it for your Scarecrow special summon to get Scarecrow out of the extra monster zone, but now it's just here as an additional card for you to be able to equip onto one of your Super Heavy Samurai monsters, and then special summon another resource while setting up more in your graveyard onto the field. For some of the one-ofs for these Super Heavy Samurai monsters, the 1 copy of Soul Gaia Booster, another easy special summon, and it also treats the monster it's equipped as a tuner, if need be. The 1 Soul Claw, the reason I like Soul Claw is because it is a level 2 monster. It's another special summon after being equipped onto a monster, but also, if need be, if you're not going for the equip, it can be a monster that's pendulum summoned since it's a level 2 monster. And then the 1 Super Heavy Samurai Stealthy, it could be another search card off of Soul Piercer, and as long as you have no spell or traps in your graveyard, you can just special summon Stealthy onto the field. It's a great way to just get out cards like your Ancient Gear Ballista or your Clifford Genius without having to utilize a Pendulum Summon, setting up the Clifford Genius for you then to Pendulum Summon out more monsters on the field without having to, get out that extra resource from a Pendulum Summon beforehand. I also run the 1 copy of Ancient Gear Box and the 1 copy of Infinitrack Tunneler. Now these are searches off of your Ancient Gear Ballista, so you can have the search off of Ancient Gear Box and then use Box to search out Tunneler, and then you can distribute a Machine Earth monster you control to special summon this card from your hand in defense position, and then also being able to banish this card from your graveyard to shuffle back 5 Earth Machine monsters to draw 2 cards. You can put cards back into your extra deck, main deck, and then just get draw, so you can hopefully draw into more of your hand traps as well. And I also run the 1 copy of Therian King Regulus and the 1 copy of Jizukiru, the Star Destroying Kaiju. The search for both of these can also be done with Clifford Genius if you special summon 2 monsters to the zones that the card points to at the same time. Giving you the search for Jizukiru helps when you go second against your opponent, because then you just have a Kaiju to give your opponent being able to search this card out. And then Therian King Regulus, you can easily make your Springin's Merrymaker with 2 level 4 monsters, overlay into Sargus, and then have the search to get out your Therian King Regulus, which you can then equip with cards like Soul Piercer onto the field to have the additional search when you send King Regulus to the graveyard to negate a card effect on your opponent's field. Moving on now to the hand trap lineup. Like I said before, the biggest hit for sure in the hand trap lineup for the deck was Gamma to 1. I thought about maybe running some of the other Psy-Frame cards along with Gamma. It just was too risky just to go 1 Gamma, 1 Driver, because then we have the risk of just drawing Driver and never seeing the Gamma as well. But then we are running the 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, the 3 copies of Effect Veiler, more of an added option for your hand trap plays, especially just because we don't have any spell or traps in the deck. So we just need to fill some spots with hand traps for sure to be able to set up the lineups needed for any cards to stop our opponent if they go first against us. We also run the 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird and the 3 copies of Ghost Ogre. Both are very useful. Your Droll and Lockbird, especially in the mirror match with Super Heavy Samurais, just stops your opponent from searching any cards, and then Ghost Ogre, the same, can stop Prodigy Wakashi quite easily just by destroying the card and preventing the search. And then lastly, for the main deck cards, 3 copies of Nibiru. This was my big replacement, main decking this card since I wasn't running Psy-Frame Gamma anymore in the deck, just as another way to get a special summon on the field, giving your opponent the Nibiru token, and just makes for an easier way for you to get over it with some of your other cards. You have some pretty big powerhouses in the extra deck with your cards that you use, which could potentially hit over the Nibiru token depending on how big you made it when tributing out all your opponent's monsters, but you can just get rid of a lot of other difficult resources that your opponent may have on the field. And now moving on to the extra deck. For our synchro monsters, I run the 1 copy of Super Heavy Samurai Brave Masuwaro. You need 1 tuner and 1 non-tuner monster, a level 12 synchro monster. Can attack while on face-up defense. If it does, apply its defense as damage calculation. And if a Super Heavy Samurai monster you control will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can destroy 1 Super Heavy Samurai card you control instead. And once per turn, if your opponent activates a spell or trap card, except during the damage step, you can draw until you have 3 cards in your hand. So it's a hand replenished way to get more hand traps for you to use use, and one of the bigger synchros, but a little easier to get out with some of the other cards you run in the deck. The 1 copy of Sarutobi as well, your level 8 synchro. It can attack well in defense if it does apply defense for damage calc, and once per turn during either player's turn, if you have no spell traps in your graveyard, you can target 1 spell trap on the field, destroy it, and inflict 500 damage to your opponent. So another way to go into time against your opponent and at least hit for some damage so you don't end up having the same amount of life points as each other. The 1 copy of Borreload's Savage Dragon, another way to use your link monsters. We don't have the Scarecrow equip as well, but we still have plenty of other link monsters to attach on to Borreload's Savage Dragon to give counters. And then the 1 Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon for a special summon of a tuner onto the field to then be able to go into Baron de Fleur, another easy Omni Negate on the field. Now for the link monsters, sadly no more Scarecrow. We didn't really get to enjoy it too long, but still for our link lineup, the 1 copy of Ancient Gear Ballista. The biggest thing now in the deck is you just have to extend your plays to go for the bigger summons, depending on if you go for your synchro play or your link play. The 1 Ballista for the search power it provides, genius, same when you pendulum summon 2 cards to its arrows. IP Masquerena is just another resource to then go into Nightmare Unicorn. And then for the bigger plays, we also have Appaloosa and the Saryuja Skull-Dread for more draw power into the deck, and then the monster negates that you can provide with Appaloosa as well. And then for the Xyz monsters, the 1 copy of Baguska, it's just good shutdown power depending on the mirror match you're going up, so you can hopefully draw into some of the more important cards you need. 1 Springin's Merrymaker to then overlay just 2 level 4 monsters into overlaying into Gigantic Champion Sargus, and then if you attack with Sargus, you have the search for Regulus before you even attack, and then also if your opponent detaches any cards from an Xyz monster, you have a destruction play, and then being able to use the additional cards, the 2 cards here, and then the 2 level 4 monsters to overlay into Zeus, which has a 2 detach, since you'll have 4 material on the Zeus if you didn't use Sargus's detach card effect. And then as for some of the go-to plays in the deck, once again, we're not relying on Scarecrow anymore. That's our biggest play. We have more of a risk of getting hand-trapped by our opponent as well and not being able to resolve the Psyframe Gamma anymore. But if you set the scale with cards like Wakashi, go for the setup once again, setting up your Big Benkei, and then special summoning out Wakashi onto the field. It all comes down to what else you have in your hand to utilize. You can use the Big Monk Benkei to search out your needed card as well, with your equip going for that play. So you can either go for the summon of cards like your Superheavy Samurai Scales, or even the setup for after you get your Soul Monster. So you'll want to go for the Soul Piercer for the first play. So adding that card off of Wakashi, then you use Wakashi's effect as well. Once again, if you use Wakashi in this way, you will be locked into other cards for the rest of this turn, except for Super Heavy Samurai monsters from the extra deck, or just for the special summon in general. So remember that play if you're going to go for this setup as well. But you did special summon out the Wakashi, so you could normal summon out the Soul Piercer that you added off of the Monk Big Benkei, then go for a synchro play, then being able to go for the level 8 Excel Stardust, or you could go for your Ninja Sarutobi, because then once you have Ninja Sarutobi on the field, you can activate Wakashi, setting it in the other Pendulum Zone. Then you also have the Soul Piercer Search to be able to add another Super Heavy Samurai from your deck to your hand. So with that play, you can add cards like Motorbike, and then with this play, you can either go for the discard of Motorbike to add the Super Heavy Samurai Scales to your hand, and Scales can then be Pendulum summoned out. You can use the 2 Wakashi and the Big Benkei to special summon out your Scales onto the field, and then from the Scales play, you can either go for the Soul Piercer, or you can go for the Motorbike for the summon. If you go for the Soul Piercer, you then have the card to rely on being your setup for the overlay into your Sargus, which then can go for the Springin's Merrymaker into Sargus, and then have the Regulus search, and you'll have the other Super Heavy Samurai monster in your graveyard for you to attach onto the Regulus that you can then summon on the field. But if you went for the Motorbike instead, let's say you summoned out these Scales, and this all is just going off of what we've added off of 1 card. You can have multiple other cards that you can go for the Pendulum Summon. If you had 1 other additional level 4 in your hand, you can go for the Scale Summon to target the Motorbike, and then have the additional monster monster for the Pendulum Summon as well to go for the same rank 4 overlay play, but still having the level 2 as I stated before. And then with this play, you're meant to decide if you want to use Motorbike's level increase. So then you'll either, depending on how many cards you invest in your hand as well, you can raise the level of Motorbike to 12. This will allow you to go into Brave Masuwaro with your Sarutobi on the field, giving you a bigger boss monster to also draw into more cards to replenish your hand, or you can keep the Motorbike as a level 2 and then use these two to go into your Baron de Fleur play. Like I said before, the big thing with the deck is we still have plays to do. We just don't have the true one card combos to rely on going into the Scarecrow setup. We have to get a little more creative with what we can do with the cards we have for the Super Heavy Samurai deck, but I still have high hopes for the deck to be playable with all we have for it. And that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. There'll be more decks to come out for the ban list as well. I'll be definitely updating some other changes with the cards brought out. I'm definitely excited for Denlong for Yang Zing, and I also want to try and incorporate Blaster, the Elemental Dragon, into some new decks as well. But as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.